Thank you. I see a lot of guys joining in. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. This is the India Startups Meet, yet another session that we have, and then we're catching up with the guest Ashutosh Sinha today. So, just to give a quick introduction, what is Indian Startups? It's a one-stop solution for entrepreneurs. I see a lot of people joining in. I would like to thank everyone who is joining in, and as well as I see people coming in. So um, while you guys are waiting for the session to start, you can also visit our website. The website is given below. It's events. You can check the events.indiastartups.com. Um, right. So today's topic is the art of science of storytelling. So there is art, there is science, and something called as storytelling. So everyone knows and everyone has a story to tell. It's always been, I think, a very important point, especially for entrepreneurs when they have to tell their story. Everyone goes through a hustle, everyone does hard work, to get their startups and people within the startup motivated. And when they do, there's definitely something that they need to talk to people and share. And the way to deliver that is basically the art and the science. So here is a guest who is going to help us. He's a well-renowned guest. I'm going to quickly introduce him to you, and he's going to talk us through about the art and science of storytelling. So I'll just quickly go through what we do. So who we are and why do we get this sessions for all of you. So we are Indian startups. We have a platform of about 90,000 members across this community. We try to have ecosystem which can nurture investors, you can nurture entrepreneurs. We try to build in that environment where we can empower people, budding entrepreneurs, we can get the right kind of people in order to invest into startups and so on. There are a lot of activities that we've been doing and we continue to do it. So we're not restricted only to India. There are people joining in from all across the globe. And that's basically a story about us. If you want to know more about what we do and how our timelines, our meetup sessions and all, these are some of the social media channels that you can get in touch with us: Skype, Twitter, Facebook, and so on. Of course, the meetups as well. Just like the session that you are in, you will get an opportunity to go and check for other startups meets as well. So without any further ado, I'm going to talk about the speaker. His name is Ashutosh Sinha. Industry, automobiles, definitely, automobiles slash so on and so on. I'm sure he's going to talk about it a lot, but then he likes to put it automobiles. Let's hear it from him. He has been into the print and television media. He's been a reporter for NDTV. It's not mentioned NDTV, but then I know that. I've spoken to him earlier. He has tracked the equity markets of India, especially very closely, and has been speaking to a lot of big leaders, right from the CXO levels to the CEOs and other executive board members of different companies. So, along with tracking the stock market, I think he's also keenly interested in telecom, technology, finance, and of course, he's very passionate. He considers cricket as his religion, especially the 5 days. So I'm not going to take much time. Without any further ado, I hand it over to Ashutosh. Ashutosh, over to you. We're all waiting for you to hear.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for those kind words. Cricket is indeed my religion, and as it is religion for a lot of people in India. So, but before I begin, I'd like to start with, a little commercial that a lot of people may have, or some people definitely would have watched online. So if you permit, I will start with that commercial and then we can also, one thing I'd encourage is everyone should, as much as possible, if you can key in your questions, it'll be wonderful. I'm more than happy to take questions, all your questions as possible within the stipulated time. And of course, if need be later as well. So I'll be happy to hear any reactions, all bouquet and brickbats. Journalists tend to get a lot of brickbats lately. So happy to take all of that. Let's see this ad first. Let me just put on the ad and show it to you. If you
Sure.
can.
So while we get Ashutosh getting up with his ad, I think he's going to share it very quickly. I think he needs to share it. So I again would like to thank people who have joined in. I see a good big crowd of 60 participants all together. I mean, definitely it's you have the chat window. If you have any questions that you want to put in, it's a good time to put in, and then we can quickly get through. Maybe as and when we get sufficient time to go through, or maybe towards the end. So yeah, over to
Okay.
you,
Sure,
Ashutosh. Yeah.
sure. So I'll start sharing the screen if you can.
Yes, we've done it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll share the screen right away.
Okay. Are you sharing it?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not. It's sorry. It's not visible. So probably I want to share it again. Yeah.
Oops.
No, that's
Just one
okay.
second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you? I hope you can. Let me just try that again.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Perfect. I think we can see the screen now. There's a Fevicol ad, isn't it? Okay.
Okay. So that's the Fevicol ad, and it's very popular one if you'd remember.
Yeah.
And okay, so let me get to the key points that I wanted to make and get to the core messaging. Now, anyone wants to have a comment or to make on what this story was all about, what this ad was all about? If you can point your questions, if you can note down your questions, if you can message your questions, it'll be wonderful if you can do that, because that will be key to what I want to say. Okay, so while we wait for the responses, here's what, so I'll start, and you can keep sending your responses as we move ahead. Right.
Someone says durability.
Okay,
Yeah.
any other comments?
Bonds. Someone says Denzel.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay,
I think it means, I think he's trying to say relationships, probably. Yeah.
okay.
Bonds and relationships, touching people's emotions. Wow. Thanks, Vicky.
Yeah, yeah. So just imagine
Yeah. Across
we're
generations. Yeah.
telling the story of Fevicol, and the product cannot be seen. How do you tell the story? And why do you tell the story like this? Because you would like to tell the story, one, and connect with your viewers. That is the key. So this is the story of a sofa, an inanimate object, 60-year story across generations, across events in their lifetime, of a humble sofa, and how the product comes at the end of it. And the product is central to that, despite that, because it is showing durability, as somebody mentioned it. So that is so important in the art and science of storytelling, whether it is for startups or whether it is for an established brand. Now, Fevicol is a very old Indian brand, but they can tell the story because they have the power of the brand. But imagine if your startup did that. If you're solving a very basic business problem like Khata book, or could be a Paytm, could be a relatively smaller company, which is telling the story of the pain that business faces. That is what that problem, and the solution to that is what the the that solution is being spoken about. Okay, so let me tell you about somebody called Vinod Khosla, who's one of very well-known venture capitalists around the world. So in the 80s, he helped set up one of the largest companies that you see, Sun Microsystems, and several other investments that he's made. He
Yeah.
says that it's not enough to have facts on your side. It's the storytelling which helps you, because facts.
Ashutosh, sorry to interrupt. I think you probably stopped sharing the screen.
Oops. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So sorry, Avan. Just sorry to
No,
hijack. I think it would
no,
be
no,
really
no,
helpful for every one
no.
of us to
Sure,
see what you're talking
sure.
about. Yeah,
My problem. So
no
my
problem. Yeah.
mistake. Now, can you see
Wow.
that?
Yes, we can. Yeah, I think full
Okay.
screen should help.
Yes, that's good. So
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah,
yeah. So my apologies.
no worries.
Now, if somebody like a Vinod Khosla, who has so much at his disposal in terms of funds, has seen the world, set up Sun Microsystems in the early 80s, set up, he was, if I remember correctly, Kleiner Perkins, he was one of the members for that. Now Vinod Khosla Ventures. That kind of a person is saying that storytelling, facts may not help you, because you will say that this pen is probably brown in color, something gray in color. But beyond that, you have to get to how tough it is to make this pen, how so much of care has gone into making this pen. This, when you make this pen, it's our blood and sweat that has gone into making this pen. You have to tell that story. That is why you need storytelling beyond the facts. That is why you need to tell the story of your. So a story, whenever you tell the story, it's very important that facts versus storytelling is very important to differentiate between the two. So the facts are driven by logic, whereas the story is told in twists and turns. Because in any of your ads, so let's say Fevicol, some of those other famous ads, if I were to just give an example, the famous Fevicol ad, if you remember, the people hanging on to the vehicle were in the village, where literally by the dozens people are hanging on to that vehicle which is passing through a village, the dusty street. Remember that ad?
Yeah, yeah,
And it says nothing. That is the beauty of that ad. If you see, for example, JCB ads, JCBs, they have some 70% market share. The JCB ads, they sometimes almost tell you nothing, but they just show that, it's a member of the family.
yeah,
The JCB machine is a member of the family. They show that bonding with the people. It's the people who make the ads, but the machine is shown as something that bonds with the family. Every brand, emerging or the established one, has to tell that story. And when you are able to tell that story, when you're able to connect with your viewer, that story will have to build on the basis of facts. That is why the storytelling is the art, and the facts, depending upon how you're constructing that story, is the science part of it. So if, let's say, 10,000 people are visiting your website every day, reading into metrics, you'll know what kind of story, what kind of pages they visit, and hence you'll build on that facts and build the narrative that you need to speak about. That's the science, and that's the art of that story. Let me tell you how different people do it. I'm sure here, anyone and everyone who's visiting here, barring someone like me, I don't watch almost any movies, and my wife keeps cribbing about it. But we almost don't go for any movies. I just don't seem to have time for movies. I may spend maybe half a day watching a cricket match, but I tend not to have time for movies. That's the way I am. But how does a Bollywood movie or any of the regional movies, how do they tell stories? So I'm sure some of our people who are listening today, they would be speaking languages other than Hindi as well, other regional languages. I speak. I'm not a Bengali, but I do speak Bengali. I understand a couple of other languages, Punjabi. I understand a little bit of Odia because of various associations. My wife is from Delhi, so I have picked up a little bit of Punjabi. In any language, when movies are made, whether you call them Bollywood, Collywood, Mollywood, I don't know, whatever of them, whatever names we give them, they tend to have this crest and furrows in them because they need to take people through that emotion of ups and downs so that they are hooked on. This is all storytelling. So when they tease, if you see the tease word on the screen, it's important to understand what they are doing, what kind of new characters will be coming in. Excuse me, just one second. So it's important to understand what kind of characters could be coming in because that's where the important part of the story may be happening. Okay. And some twists and turns happen when the tease happens, or there will be a time when it'll look as if the hero and the heroine, they are going through a very tough time and everything is lost. But then that's when the hero enters or the heroine enters or something strikes their mind, and then things start looking to improve. We've all seen those stories, right? Brands cannot do that. That is the difference between a Bollywood or a movie and a brand. Let's now get to what brands can do. And before that, let me just add that, then when they end that story, the movies, they will end on a happy note because they believe in telling that story and everyone was very happy in the end. They lived happily ever after. That's what brands want to do. But what they don't do is go through the crests and troughs. So what are some of those principles that brands follow? And very important, as a young brand, as a nascent brand, as an upcoming brand, as a startup, you can do as well. So whether it is Coca-Cola, JCB, Hughes, and several others, you can follow some of those principles as well. Very important to note that. Brands tend to illustrate what they can do. So imagine they will say, my product, let's say again, if we were to take this example of this pen is as beautiful as, well, just for making my point, as the Taj Mahal. We tend to do that. I mean, the city is as beautiful as, let's say, we say Naples or, Venice. We jokingly say that when, Gurgaon gets flooded, the joke is that we're enjoying Venice without having to pay the airfare and the hotel price there. But that is how you illustrate your point. So if I let's say, were to give an example of Paytm makes it as easy as payments, as easy as maybe walking in the park. We tend to speak like that. We give an analogy which tells how easy, how difficult, how beautiful, how smart, how big it is. That analogy we always tend to do with our product or our services. That is where. So we evoke a feeling in among the brands. We tend to make that emotion with that brand, with that company, with that upcoming brand. So it could be abstract. So it could be as tall as, in Delhi, you have the Qutub Minar, which is a historical place, or something like that. Could be the, some of the other structures around the world. it could be that, or it could be about memory. It could be about, anyone remembers here 2nd of April 2011 or 25th of June 1983? For me, it is memory. For me, it is something I can't forget because India won the World Cup those 2 days. And I cannot forget it anytime ever. So there are very good memories attached with that. So that is how I tend to remember those days. Let's move on. Another way how brands tend to relate to individuals and make this a part of their communication. What did this ad which we began with, what did that tell you? It inherently said or linked the idea of reliability and connected it to the brand Fevicol. So if you use Fevicol, the message, the key message that was there in the ad, if you link yourself or if you use a product from Fevicol, the product will last a lifetime. Now, what are some of those key ingredients of that messaging? Did you notice the language that they used? The language was very colloquial Hindi. It was not the city Hindi that we'd speak in Mumbai or in Delhi or Lucknow. You know, Lucknow Hindi is very famous for the quality of Hindi. But it was the Hindi that the probably people slightly lower strata would be using. The reason? Fevicol is decided by it is generally recommended by carpenters, so they wanted to get their messaging there. Besides that, they also, if you notice the setting, the focus of attention was all through, everyone was watching the sofa. So if you saw the neighbors watching inside, they were looking at people sitting on the sofa or people taking the sofa on the rickshaw or on that boat. So the sofa was the center of attention all the time. Brands tend to do that because they explain their point of view, their positioning, or something like that. That is why connecting the dots is so important for brands. So imagine if a brand was to tell its story and did not, it spoke a little bit in isolation. Would that be a good idea? I don't think so. It'll be a good idea. That is why it is so important to explain some of those. So a telecom company, or, you know, we could speak about telecom today. We could say that, you know, Jio is doing this, and this is how it could hit the earnings for, it's called VI now, right? Vodafone Idea. Or it could hit the earnings of Airtel. We could also say, you know, one way of putting it, yeah, sorry, you were saying something, Vijay?
Yeah, that's me. I just had to connect from another phone, so sorry about that. Yeah, please
Okay, no
continue.
worries. No worries,
Yeah,
no worries.
sorry.
No worries. So you could also say that, look, see how you get attention? You can say that, you know, the average revenue per user, a metric that's very closely tracked in the industry for telecom companies. In India, it's about 150 rupees, you know, give and take a few. So $2. So imagine if you tell your story, you know, what Jio is vying for is $2 every month from consumers. But the difference for Jio is if it can build an e-commerce layer where it makes people buy stuff on their network with 400 million subscribers, that adds to their earning. Now, how catchy will that communication be for a global audience? All you have to do is give me $2 or give them $2 and they hook you onto their e-commerce business. That is how a story is told. You've got one point which is very catchy, $2, only $2. $2 is nothing in the global scheme of things. But in India, with a 90% prepaid market where $2 or 150 rupees can be a little bit, that is a decent amount. Incidentally, that market in the telecom world is called the ABCD market. It's called the Aya Bai Chaprasi driver market, ABCD. That's the catchy phrase that they use. Let me move to the next one now. And let's see what is the next one for us. This is why I wanted to mention about this ABCD category. You need to build a hook for your product or service. Brands do that. So let's take the example of a brand like a Coca-Cola, what they do. That's a global brand. You know, there are a $60 billion revenue brand globally. And, you know, just one brand, Coca-Cola, gives them about 30 billion. I think it's 26 billion, if I remember the number correctly. So just one brand earns them $26 billion. So they should find it very easy to hook or come up with a hook. It's not so simple for them. What they need to do is they do it with multiple kinds of ways. So they could be doing it with video, they could be doing with image, they could be doing it with text, they could be doing with video. So what they do is they talk about, let's say, water. They could be talk about some of their products, some of their brands, some of the mango that they grow. People grow the mangoes, so that mango goes as input for Maza or some of the other products that they make, some of the guava or the other juices that they make, or the coffee that they grow. Some of those hooks can be used like that by the brand. So whether it's Georgia in the case of Coca-Cola, or some of the food products that Pepsi makes, or any of the other products that Manpasand Beverages makes. They're a relatively smaller company. Manpasand, of course, not the best example to take, but could be any of those brands. So they use a hook, which is emotion, which is tied to an emotion, so that people tend to remember that particular. So Coke, for example, they'll say open happiness. Now, it really doesn't mean anything very specific, but they want to link it to your emotion. That is the hook that they are talking about. Big brands also teach. And let me give you an example. If I were to take an example, so this Fevicol ad was something that teaches people, isn't it? If you use a Fevicol product, it'll be very good to have, very good for you. Okay, so that is the inherent message that brands also want to do. To build a new audience, they also do this. And I'll give an example of something that one of my previous employers did. This previous employer was, and I'm sure most of you will be aware of this brand, TV18, Television 18, which is a partner with CNBC. They have a global partnership with CNBC, and they've been partners for the last 20 years or so, if you're aware, since I think about 1999 or 2000, they are partners. So what brands do is, so they have a program, or they used to have, I'm not sure if they currently have it, CNBC in the classroom, just like that ET also has one, ET classroom. So what they do, they ask very basic question. The idea is you want to recruit, marketing people use a term called recruit. So you want to recruit new consumers or potential consumers for your main product using these methods. So when you teach the use of your product, the use of your services, you're trying to recruit new potential users of your product or service. These could also be in the form of third-party, nod for your product. So let's say if you're a partner with XYZ, let's say a partner of a industry body, let's say CII or FICCI or something like that, NASCOM, and they say that, we've used, some of our members have used Khatabook and it's great to use. That's a great thumbs up for the brand. So when brands do this teach thing, it is a great thing to do because you are taking your messaging beyond the marketing message, and the barrier from the potential consumer in accepting that message is far lesser when you're teaching, because it is generally seen as doing something that will benefit the consumer. This is something very important. And, for people who run companies which are maybe 20, 30 people strong, this is particularly important because with your key message in place, you're able to find purpose in your employees. For example, just because I mentioned Khata book, you can say that, every little shop owner, pan dukanwala, every little shopkeeper in every local market, if their accounting can be improved, their cash transactions or something like that, their uh, accounting can be improved, accounting can be used because of the mobile phone app. If you can find purpose among their employees, you will they will be able to sense that achievement, and they will see that the impact can be seen in how they have made a change in the lives of the people, of the small shopkeeper. That is where the employees of the company, of this, the 40, 30, 40 people companies that I'm talking about, they will be able to find a purpose among the employees. And that is so important, because the moment you have purpose among your employees, it will give them a reason to be happy. So whenever and I'm sure you are familiar with this name, Vijay Shekhar Sharma. Vijay, whenever Vijay talks about today, he talks about changing, bringing about a change. He doesn't talk about, how Paytm will help. He is helping change the way India transacts and does a mini transaction. That promises a brighter future. His focus is a brighter future for all of India, all of Indians who live not just in large towns, but also in the smaller cities. In fact, some of you who have listened to Vijay Shekhar Sharma, I must mention, I have known Vijay for more than 20 years now. And I've been very privileged to have known him all this while. Some of the personal stories that he shared, and it's all very well available in the public domain as well. It is very, very inspiring. So that inspiration can come from employees and partners of yours, even if you're a small company. The moment others start telling your story, that is the day you have arrived as a brand. If you notice, and I'm sure some of you are on Twitter would have noticed this, they regularly, you will see Vijay Shekhar Sharma retweet, and I follow Vijay, that's why I know we follow each other. He will retweet, somebody will say, I saw in Bhopal a sabzi wala is accepting Paytm, or some small time shopkeeper or a plumber or an electrician is accepting Paytm. He would regularly retweet that. So somebody else is pushing that brand, and Vijay is merely retweeting that. That is why, that is when the brand has arrived, because others are talking about that brand. And that's when you become an inspiration for your fellow startup community, your fellow brands, and then people will start saying, wow, have you used their product? My little one, he's just 14, he keeps telling me, Papa, have you used that? And sometimes I may be dismissive of some of those brands, but they have managed to find a place in his head. So they have managed to recruit somebody like him who's just 14. When a brand is able to get him to tell his dad, mom, colleagues, peers about that, that is when you've arrived as a brand. So here's for a little more established brand. Some brands like to be a role model, and I would like to believe that with over 200 million subscribers, Paytm could well now claim to be that, because if I remember the number correctly, and again, this is something I saw Vijay tweet someday, he said we have more customers than the number of accounts that SBI has. That's how India is changing. So just imagine, SBI was, I think SBI is more than 100 years old. I could be wrong, but it definitely is more than 100 years old. It should be about 100 years old as an institution. So then brands start to becoming role models because others would like to emulate them. So we have so many smaller brands which want to be like Paytm. We have so many brands which wanted to be like Facebook. We had Orkut, we had Google Plus, and there are so many others. I mean, we have so many others who want to be like others, but the one who you're trying to imitate usually is the one which is imprinted on your mind. They are the ones who turn into role models, and it's very important to share or to become that early enough uh, to be that. So established brands and some emerging brands become role models, and then they tell people, they teach people to help build competencies to become what, you know, something that tomorrow, how they have shaped, how they have become, or how they could become what one of those leaders tomorrow, or what one of those leaders have been tomorrow. So you can you know become a role model tomorrow as well. Any other questions? So should I stop sharing the screen, Vijay, if it's fine?
Sure. I
And
mean, I'm just, yeah.
yeah, if you can take over. So I'll be happy to answer any questions and
Yeah,
any.
sure. Just give me a quick minute. I think you just went through like about the slides. Let me just share my. Are there
Of
any more
course,
slides that you would be going through?
yeah, but just
Yeah,
one point I'd like to make that,
yeah.
all this can be done by anyone. And trust me, it could be anyone. It could be in text, it could be in video, it could be digital, it could be infographics, it could be on Facebook, it could be WhatsApp. Depends on what your target market is. And very important to remember that when you are telling a story, it has to be a slow burn. It cannot be, it's not like a sales thing where, in 3 weeks or in 6 weeks, I will probably give you one sale of, let's say, $100,000 or something of that sort.
Absolutely. Yeah, agreed.
So
Yeah,
it takes time for this to happen. So you need to, as the owner of the brand, you need to keep this in mind that your costs need to be in control accordingly. So
yeah.
that's roughly about all that I'd like to say. I
Okay.
mean, of course, this is,
Yeah,
I'm very proud to say this, tracking stock markets has been my profession. Telecom and technology has been passion, and cricket, as I just don't tire of speaking, is my religion.
sure. Yeah. So that's wonderful. I mean, everyone look forward to cricket, absolutely, and then it's good. I mean, know that you are a big fan of 5 days. It's absolutely good. A very quick question. I think Udalak Das has, I think, probably posted the question 5 times. Kind of,
Oops, oops, I'm so
yeah.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. That's okay. I think probably he might have done the mistake, or I'm not sure. So what he says is.
Mhm,
Um, could you give us some ideas about food brands, like Domino's and KFC's?
mhm.
How could they do a storytelling? I mean, if you could throw some light or some ideas around it,
Sure,
really
sure,
quick till I
sure.
start sharing my screen.
So,
I mean, are
so
we done with your slides or
yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
So can I take over?
Yeah. Sure,
Yeah,
sure, sure,
while you
sure,
continue. Yeah,
sure.
please.
I
Thanks,
will. I
Ashish.
will continue. So here's what food companies. Let's say take any food company. Since you mentioned Domino's, I'd add McDonald's to that, or add any Indian food companies. By the way, the company that runs Domino's in India, the master franchisee, is an Indian company. So I'd
Yeah,
like to believe that some of the ethos that they bring about is Indian. So
yeah,
you could have a story where how they're helping the ecosystem, the farmers, the people who add to their brands, the entire supply chain, the some of the cold chains, some of the logistics, some of the farmers. They could tell the stories of farmers. And you know what? Just to give you an idea, and again, I know it because of some personal association. Uh, Yum Brands is the largest restaurant company in the world. Yum Brands had a target, I'm not sure if they've reached that, to have one of the largest markets in India by 2020. Of course, things have changed in the last few months. By 2020, they were betting so big on India by building this supply chain. And for one of those supply chain guys sitting in the US, is a school senior of mine. That's how I got to know of it. They were betting really big time and planning for the supply chain across veg and non-veg for India. Now imagine if you break those stories. So Gujarat has, you know, some stores. For example, Pizza Hut outlets which are only veg outlets. So you could tell these stories around these brands. How we make
Yeah.
sure that everything remains only veg throughout the chain.
Yeah.
So multiple stories around that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I think it's uh, I think that's a good thing that you pointed out. While you could stop sharing your
Sure,
screen, yeah, I
sure.
think I can't override what you're doing.
Yeah, sure,
So
sure. No
yeah, while
problem.
you do that, I just wanted to quickly take any other questions if anyone has.
Mhm.
Anyone wants to point out something? Any comments? Anybody, please?
Sure. Anyone wanting to take questions or to ask questions? Happy to take those questions as well.
Yeah, basically, yeah, we see so many ads, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Why only few of them, or yeah, you gave those pointers like yeah, emotion,
Hmm.
illustration, inspiration.
Hmm.
So how do we differentiate, as a startup
Hmm.
with no big funds?
Hmm.
So do you have any tips? I mean, do you see that how corporates tell the storytelling with backed by huge money and budgets? And what are the
Um,
quick hacks for startups?
See, the great thing about startups is that the can-do attitude. One of the people I follow, and I personally have never met him, but I'm a big fan of, is Vala Afshar, and I'm sure some of you know him, have heard of him. He's the chief digital evangelist at Salesforce globally. A person who I'd love to meet someday, and I'm very sure I'll get an opportunity to meet him. Vala Afshar, if you follow him and on Twitter, he's very active on Twitter. He says that the can-do attitude is bigger than any resource in the world. And I'll give you a little personal anecdote. And I tend to build a lot from these personal things that keep happening around me as well. You know, when I'm looking around, because brands tend to build from the opportunities that they see around as well. So we've recently hired a help, and through a friend we hired, and this lady, she's about 21, 22. She studied till about fourth, and she wants to learn. So suddenly, within a month of coming, she's picking the brains from my wife, my mom, and occasionally me and my son as well, to make sure that we teach her. And we have to give in that can do attitude, please remember. So she's finding out time to study every day now. And her thing is, I have to learn English, because she sees that as a passport to a better future. That can do attitude, though, I'm trying to make that point. So it is, I mean, we can get into the very specifics, but once you have that can do attitude, you know, in Hindi, I like to say I'm a Hindi speaking person. My mother tongue is Hindi. I speak, as I mentioned, I speak Bengali as well, fairly decent Bengali as well. कुछ भी हो जाए करना तो है ही. That's the attitude that is needed. ये तो करना ही है. I have to do it. If you can get that attitude, that is something that will be amazing.
Yeah. That's correct, Ashutosh. I think it's a can-do attitude and a will-do attitude kind of a thing that should be carried. Yeah, I think Raja was asking that question for
Mhm.
a small brand. I just wanted to give my 2 cents also to it. You know, like I mean,
Mhm.
obviously there's no huge investment or huge
Mhm.
money which is there, which a startup can
Mhm.
pump into
Mhm.
doing the advertisements, or probably they could maximum do is some kind of marketing and
Mhm.
very basic. They can't
Mhm.
go big bang.
Mhm.
Probably being on LinkedIn, I think, would be a very good
Exactly.
place where you have the right choice of connections, you find like-minded people and so on. Personally speaking, because I think I can relate. I'm trying to combine Raj's question to Mr. Das, who was asking about food, KFC and Domino's.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure everyone's heard about a brand called as ID Fresh Food. It's Idli Dosa Fresh Food. It's by
Wow.
Mr. Mustafa. Yeah.
Mm,
So this guy, I mean, he is a big guy now. So
mm,
he happened to start this like maybe about 10 years ago. I'm not sure,
mm,
but then
mm,
he was working somewhere in the Middle East, and he plans to come back, and
mhm,
he starts idli dosa batter that he starts distributing based in Bangalore. It's a
mhm.
very very big brand today, and he not only
Wow.
supplies idli and dosa batter, but then I think he's grown eventually to some other products, which also includes like paneer and so on. So
Wow.
big brand. It's called as ID Fresh Foods. I'm not promoting it, but then I'm just trying to relate it. So it's a good option if you anyone wants to go and
I'll
read
just
about it.
add
Yeah, sure, absolutely,
four
Ashish. Go ahead.
sentences to that.
Yeah.
I recently was connected to a gentleman from Turkey
Mm-hmm.
living in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
His company called Rapsodo, Rapsodo. I think that's
Okay.
how he spelled Rapsodo.
Okay.
So Rapsodo provides software for intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
for coaches and how they build in some of the intelligence of players, the physical attributes of players to all 30 teams in the baseball league in the US. A Turkish person living in Singapore has managed to do that. And now the reason he got in touch with me because of another friend in Singapore, this gentleman is a hotshot marketing person. So through him, he's trying to reach the Indian market for
Mm-hmm.
cricket, and he's
Yeah.
trying to understand cricket.
Mm-hmm.
Can do attitude.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing stopping anyone from exploring. Yep. I think we see a lot of people trying to invest in India as well.
Mhm.
Some people, if trying to copy some ideas, some people looking for partners who
Mhm.
want to do startups. Having an Indian partner, because if
Mhm.
you see the kind of people, the number of people that this country has is
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Vijay,
Yeah.
I'll
Sure.
just take some questions. There are
Sure.
because
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
quite a
Sure.
few in the
Sure. Sorry
chat.
about that. Yeah.
If I can just
Any questions, guys? I see quite a big crowd. So
okay,
thanks, Raja, for your
I'll
question.
read out the questions as well, so that
Sure,
I
go
don't
ahead.
miss out. And my apologies, Mr. Das's question. Please give hints on how some food brands. Okay, we've spoken
Yeah,
about
we've
that.
spoken about it. Yeah.
Okay, can you better suggest better methods? This comes from Harivanam Vijayanag. I hope I pronounce your name correct, sir. Can you suggest better methods to advertise an FMCG product on social media, offline marketing like posters, pamphlets? Sir, online could be a great thing as Vijay suggested. LinkedIn is a great B2B platform. Your B2C platform becomes very important in case you're doing some of that. But please remember, the B2C platform is very different from a B2B platform. So your content, if you're telling the kind of story you're telling, has to be different on a B2B platform vis-a-vis a B2C platform. And I'll give you an example. Indians relate to gold. Every Indian can relate to gold, right? I worked for NDTV in the past, as Vijay also mentioned. So I used to work for something called NDTV Profit, which was a company or which has been a channel which tracked the stock markets. NDTV also has NDTV 24/7 and NDTV India. 24/7 is an English channel, NDTV India is a Hindi channel. So imagine if I were to tell the story of gold, which has reached, let's say, 60,000 rupees per 10 grams, how do I tell to different audiences on the three channels? And here's an example, and that'll make my point. On NDTV 20, let's say I'll begin with profit. I'm biased towards profit. NDTV profit viewer is a trader in the market. So traders see, let's say gold prices hit 60,000 per 10 grams. Traders see more upside ahead. Now that's a language a gold trader will understand. Let's move on to 24/7. NDTV 24/7. Marriage season plans spoilt because of high gold prices. The story remains the same, but your audience is different, very different. This is the more English speaking, if I may say so, slightly upmarket, more spending power kind of person. And then you move to NDTV India, which is a Hindi speaking, relatively low in spending power as the market believes. सोना खरीदने वालों की चांदी हो गई है. That's a different headline. And you know, it's also a pun on the saying in Hindi. So that is how you need to have different kind of stories that you say. Okay, I'll move on to Srinivas Murthy, sir. Why IPL has become such a big brand compared to Indian Premier League? Very, very good question, sir. See, what IPL has also done is, are you aware, you know, Harmanpreet Kaur plays in the Big Bash League. But does Virat Kohli play in any other league? Does MS Dhoni play in any other league? There is exclusivity. So a OnePlus phone is only available on Amazon. Whether you like it or not, you'll have to buy it from Amazon. Exclusivity. So if I have a partnership, so for example, in my personal, so the company that I run, we work with Coca-Cola. We work with both companies of Coca-Cola, Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages and Coca-Cola India Private Limited. But we are not exclusive partners. So if somebody is an exclusive partner of Coca-Cola, that exclusivity brings that strength to you. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Storytelling is very powerful, Vinod Podare says. However, as Indians, we focus a lot on data and data. How do we change our mindset, combine data with story? 15, 20 lines. So we power up your minds to it. Well, it depends on what the story is. Once we have the data before us on the kind of people who are visiting your website or the kind of insight you picked up from the market, then you can craft your story according to the data inputs that you have. That is what will combine the science and the art of storytelling. It sounds very easy to do, but trust me, it is not very easy to do. I'm sure some of you would have heard of the big brands which do it. You know, for example, see how the positioning of Sprite is vis-a-vis the other one, 7-Up. Sprite is positioned very differently compared to a, let's say, a 7-Up from Pepsi. Okay, from Mr. Udalak Das. Sir, obviously storytelling about my company or brand is important to customers, but please enlighten on how storytelling could be used for investors and venture capitalists. I just mentioned about Geo. The story was they just want $2 from every customer of them. $2? Only 150 rupees? And they're building a business out of that. 400 million subscribers into $2 every month is $800 million every month. That is about $10 billion in revenue. The moment you tell any venture capitalist that you can make your customers spend $10 billion annually, they'll fall at your feet, sir. Any venture capitalist. That's the power. Of course, they're there to make money, and they are there to support businesses as well. Okay, let me try and see. Mr. K.R. Sabarish Iyer, and financial services startup professional, insurance awareness and hence acceptance has been very low among organizations. Any suggestions regarding the kind of storytelling required? Okay, let me tell you a story, sir. Since you're an insurance professional, let me tell you the story of an insurance professional. You may have heard of a person called Rajesh Sood. Rajesh was the CEO till recently, till about a year ago, of a company called Max Life Insurance. Rajesh was the CEO, and he has this amazing story. I mean, I won't call it good, bad, or anything, but amazing is the word to use. Anything that Rajesh has done in life, there has been a crisis. Anything. So let me give you an example. So when Rajesh was about 7, if I remember correctly, his father passed away. So as luck would be, so his father was a businessman. He took a large amount as insurance cover, and luckily that helped the family in taking care of the family, because his mother took care of the family very well, and they got some money because of the insurance cover. Then when he joined work in 1992 or 93. The Harshad Mehta scam happened, and suddenly he was moved. He joined Bank of America after completing his MBA from FMS, and suddenly he was put in doing something else. And he couldn't complete his training at Bankam, and he was sent to do something else, coordinate with the JPC that was formed, Joint Parliamentary Committee, and give answers on behalf of his company, coordinate with the Hong Kong office and the US office. So he had to work very late hours. So his mother used to always wonder, he told me that, all banks I know close at 2 p.m. Why does your bank close at 2 a.m. at night? So he said, I possibly couldn't explain it to her. And then when he joined he joined Grinleys, that got bought over by another company. Then when he joined the insurance business, the month they were to launch in January 2001, they were planned to launch in Gujarat, and Gujarat had an earthquake, a massive earthquake in Bhuj, January 25th, 2001. That caused a crisis. He was supposed to take over as CEO of Max Life Insurance on 1st of October 2001. 15 days before that, the Lehman collapse happened. So crisis continued. And recently, when the company was being bought over by HDFC Life, the deal is done, everything's happening. Rajesh is holidaying in Canada, and the deal is called off. I remember messaging him and sending a smiley. The crisis doesn't leave you, Rajesh. So, stories will happen because you have to focus on the right use case, sir. So that's why you need, so obviously Rajesh Sood has told me the story. That's why I remember it very well. So that is how this came to mind as well. Coach Mateen, I believe people don't create abundance. Abundance is, okay, I don't have a question. It doesn't have a question. Mahesh T, how do you balance authenticity and promise to keep it interesting while telling your stories? The moment you have people's stories, you'll be able to tell those stories because people relate to people. That's why you need to relate to the people, and that's when their stories can be told as well. Any other stories? Amit, can I take your question? How's the storytelling differs for IT professional and other businesses? Well, if you can tell the story of the benefit it gives to businesses and the language accordingly, it's a B2B story. If you show the benefit to a consumer, it's a B2C story. So the choice of words, the kind of case study, that will depend on what kind of story and who you are telling that story to. So again, the choice is yours, how you'd like to position, and I'm happy to talk about it anytime you want. So more than happy to engage as well. Okay, thanks, Mr. Sabrish, for that comment. Rajesh Shuda's story is very inspiring. Today he's on the board, I think, of Airtel Payments Bank or something like that. He's on the board of that company. Okay, one last question, Vijay, if you permit, can I take that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, am I audible?
Yes, Mr.
Hi,
Sharma.
Hi, Ashutosh.
Yes.
So first of all, like my key takeaway for today's session is like, you can have a best session on storytelling by just having the stories. So thanks for all the stories you shared. Yeah.
Absolutely, you said it right.
Yeah. So my question is, so the slide that you showed that had a crest in the trough, like a low time, then it peaked, and then so it's a similar graph I saw in some some management course or something like that. So my question is, so all the big companies, let's say like Tesla, SpaceX, or Harley Davidson, so they had a similar kind of company trajectory. So can we say like the growth is it looks like this, because there is a risk associated with it.
Yeah, I mean, I followed Tesla very closely because we do work with a company that, Mahesh's comment, I'm sorry to just put it in there. If we don't tell our stories, who else will? Meera Nair's comment, brilliant comment, I think so. Okay, so I followed Tesla because some company we do work for, they want us to track Tesla very closely. Companies tend to have that, and companies go through that crest and trough as well, but they don't want to tell the story around that. Do you remember the story about Airtel? You know, next week Airtel completes 25 years of existence in India, and you know, just see what the company, so if you know anyone in the senior management at Airtel, they'll tell you about a meet in 2002 in Agra, where they said that they were ready to almost sell the company, pack their bags and go home. Today, it is a company which is the third or fourth largest wireless telco in the world, 350 million subscribers. So it's very important that we, and brands do that, they tell the story of the good times. That is why, remember the good times? You know, he doesn't tell the story of the bad times, the person who we associate good times with. Okay, I promise to take this question, Vijay. Permit me, please.
Sure, absolutely. It's all yours.
Hi, Ashutosh. For B2B and B2C, what should constitute an apt storytelling for pitching and hard selling technology-based products, specifically segments such as security, home automation? So safety. And the moment you tell about, you know, the beauty of story is that you don't have to hard sell. You have to say safety. It has to be your safety, your family's safety, your kids' safety. And the moment you have safety coming in, people will believe. See, everyone started using masks, everyone started using sanitizers. Safety, nobody had to sell it to them. So the moment you talk about the family, the loved ones, the story around that. You remember the ICICI Prudential ad, sir? And I'm speaking to Mr. Bagga's question, Ikjot Singh Bagga. Sir, if you remember the ICICI Prudential ad, an army man who's leaving home, and then they show that red color tika going horizontally on the screen. The tika has emotion. Every woman can relate to that. That emotion, everyone can relate to. That is why that emotion is so important for every brand to connect with the people, with potential consumers, so that they can tell their story as well. Vijay.
Sir,
Perfect.
Sir, this is Srinivas. May I ask one question?
Okay, sir.
Related to cricket, please.
Oh, please.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Any day.
Yeah. So actually, I just wanted to understand, there have been so many Premier Leagues across the globe started of late. And, but what is the reason behind IPL becoming so popular across the globe?
Sir, IPL is not the first cricket league in the country.
Yes.
I hope you're aware.
Yes, the ICL was the first, yeah.
Correct, absolutely
yes,
right.
Yes. Yeah.
And okay, let me ask you a follow-up question since you've asked this. Do you know what is common between, in the context of cricket, what is common between Cyprus, Argentina and Brazil?
Maybe football?
100% wrong.
Okay.
Each of these three countries has a T20 cricket league.
Oh, okay.
There are 105 members of the ICC. Every match that they play is an official T20 match today.
Oh, okay.
So cricket is far bigger than what we've known it to be. And I'll just give you an example. I mean, since we're talking cricket, cricket started, the first cricket match was played in 1845 or 44, I forget the year.
Yeah.
It'll be a shocker if I tell you the location and the two countries. Location. Oh, okay. The two countries were Canada and the US. Location was New York.
Oh.
Now, just see, I'm telling you a story. This is also a fact.
And they're nowhere now. I mean, top 20 countries, maybe.
Exactly. Can you guess which year was the first international football match played?
No.
1870.
Oh.
So where is cricket today? Where is football? I'm too passionate about sport and particularly cricket. So that's where it comes from. So I'm saying one was the first league of its scale, exclusivity, and some of those players are exclusive. So if you have to watch an Amitabh Bachchan movie, let's say, only Manmohan Desai or XYZ will make it. So that makes it a, it's almost like you've kind of a watertight agreement, just like, if you saw the Barca agreement sorry, because I don't follow football, which was that
Messi, is it? Messi,
Messi.
Barcelona.
Messi, Barcelona. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the Messi issue, he was not allowed to leave. But you see
Yes.
the commerce behind it. That is why they don't want him to leave. The kind of t-shirt sales that it results in, the kind of revenues it results in, it's
Yeah.
commerce which is behind. Nobody talks of that. And the moment you start talking commerce, everything will fall in place.
Okay. Got it.
Nice.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
All
Thank you very
right.
much.
Most
Thanks,
welcome.
Srinivas. Thanks for the question. Thanks, Ashutosh, for responding back to it. So, I guess it was a very delightful and very entertaining, very knowledgeable, session that we had. I see the final polls just coming in. If you could just quickly rate it, this helps us improve ourselves and get more better things. I mean, which we always continue to improve how we're delivering, and what are the pros and the cons that is what we try to seek and we try to improve over the course of time. So definitely you can go ahead and answer those polls. I'm also, if you look at your screen right now, these are the upcoming events, 26th, 29th. I'll just quickly move on to the next slide. Just give me a quick minute. Yeah, so free virtual startups, business networks that's happening, that's coming up. Please feel free to, register yourselves. That's the time. Um it's on the 26th of September. 29th of September, again, there's a mini venture capital masterclass. I think there's a payment link to it. I mean, feel free to go and explore that opportunity. And yeah, there's a feedback poll as well. And I mean, you can just put in your details of how we would like to improve. I mean, that's what you're looking at the screen right now. Last but not the least, contact us. So initially, I'd given you some of the details. You can also reach out to us, be a part of the group, as be a volunteer, be a host, or if you want to share your ideas, if you have your own startup, you want to talk about it, just like the way Ashutosh did. Feel free to reach out to us and get in touch with us. So it was a fantastic, I think, conversation that we had, Ashutosh.
Thank you.
We always look for people like you, to share ideas, give insights about the success stories, and this definitely helps. The story, which is, we always say, it's very important, and the way you deliver it, the way every team or every small or big company says it and tries and connects it with the end user and the customer, it's very important, and we've seen it. So having said that, I don't see any questions coming in. I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining this, especially Ashutosh. It was really great. We definitely will be in touch. We'll see.
I'm
Yep, I think you're
happy to
saying,
take any further questions. And, I'm sorry if some questions were left unanswered.
yeah.
Obviously, in the interest of time, we have had to keep it to the number that we could take.
Right. Yeah. I think yeah. If you and we'll definitely keep in touch with you, Ashutosh, and
Sure.
the rest of us. Any questions, anything, reach out to us. So, again, thanks everyone. Thanks Priyanka and the team to host this. Thanks Anshuman for being the co-host and being a support. And I would like to thank the India startup community and again Ashutosh and all the people. Thank you for making this very successful. I'd like to say this was it for today, and let's catch up again. I think we should catch up more often. So stay tuned and have a good day. Cheers, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.